How about I take my goddamn covenant?
Your life literally is as valuable as a summer ant. I've never seen somebody so relentless to be seen. Somebody's value so worthless.
They are officially married. I'm literally down on my knees, conflicted with my feelings of seeing how happy Sylphie and Rudeus look together, while also realizing we are nowhere near seeing Eris again. But we Eris fans must persevere. Anyways, this episode was frankly goated, and there's a lot that I wish to discuss. Quick disclaimer, as of now, I have already read volumes 1 to 20 of the light novels. I'll be giving my first impressions on this episode, while also delving into cut content that I thought was worth mentioning, but I won't be covering everything that I saw was cut. So if you're sensitive to this type of content, watch at your discretion. There'll be no spoilers in the video, however, I might throw in a bit of speculation, but without further ado, let's get into it. We start by seeing Rudeus and Sylphie by the furnace, sorting out their plans for the wedding reception. Ariel had given Sylphie 7 days off as consideration, and it was really cute to see how overly serious they were reacting, especially Sylphie. I wonder if this writing here really translates to the names Rudeus listed off. Basing it off in order, the writing would probably translate to something like this. I find it funny how Rudeus has doubts as to whether Nanahoshi will come or not, and his idea of her is close to what you would call a shut-in, which to be fair is partially right. Though he has to remember that he was the same, and probably worse in his previous life. That's probably a big reason why Rudeus helped Nanahoshi out a lot, a sort of kindred spirit. One sort of interesting point left out in the anime was that Rudeus was worried about the trouble lurking due to their diverse guest list. For one, he was worried that Ariel's group would have trouble with Linnea and Persena, as Linnea and Persena held a grudge against Ariel due to a scuffle that took place just before the events of the university arc. In short, before Ariel and her group took over the student council, Linnea and Persena reigned supreme. Due to their circumstance, Ariel and Fitz put them in their place, thus Rudeus' worry. For Sylphie's part, she believed that Ariel would conduct herself accordingly, and relish in the idea of being able to make conversation with the special students. Anyway, Sylphie here mentioning she has some questions for Elinalise was a non-subtle hint to a reveal we see later, but we'll set that aside for now. What's not to be set aside is just how cute Sylphie looks in her new outfit. It just complements her features and persona so well that I'm getting jealous as an Eris fan. I'm not gonna lie, but this new OP for this season goes unbelievably hard. However, I won't go too in-depth for this video, not only because my tendency to overanalyze could translate to blatant spoilers, but also because I have already read the light novels. And I must say, a lot was revealed in this trailer. As they set out toward the commercial district, Sylphie wants to buy clothes for Rudeus before they begin their rounds of groceries for the reception. I get that he was long overdue for a wardrobe upgrade, but seeing him let go of the coat he has been wearing for so long made me feel a little sad. Anyway, the shop they went to was a ritzy shop that Ariel's group patronized, due to it being catered to Asura royalty. In the light novel, Sylphie actually puts on her sunglasses and resumes her Fitz persona, in an attempt to smoothen the selection process due to her persona's patronage. As Rudeus tries different fits, it's funny to see just how badly they look on him. However, they look quite similar to how I imagined in the light novels. For example, the first one Rudeus tried on was made from the hide of a rainforest lizard from the Great Forest and was water resistant. The designer is Foglin, and they designed for Renoa's royal court magicians. This description would make sense due to how reptilian it looks. Ironically, according to Rudeus, the rainforest lizard didn't have high water resistance. He had fought them during their travels, but they'd frozen easily when he used his water magic on them. The second outfit he tried on catered to earth magic, in that it was from the hide of a great earthworm from the Begared continent, claiming that it can even weather a sandstorm. The designer was a promising newcomer, Flown, who is known for their highly creative use of colors, and it works as a camouflage due to its desert patterns. Finally, the one that Sylphie picks out for him was explained well, with only a few missing details, in that the lucky rat it was made from was equivalent to a D-class monster, and that it was a superior species to the mucky rat. Incidentally, Rudeus has seen both of the mentioned creatures in the demon continent. The mucky rat was 20 inches tall, and the lucky rat was even bigger. Rudeus once had to clear out an infested warehouse with mucky rats, with a single lucky rat among them. On a different note, I find it entirely possible that Sylphie chose this one not only because she has a good eye, but also out of consideration for Rudeus, who unsurprisingly had some attachment to his old robe. W Sylphie. It was funny to see how Rudeus reacted when he saw the price of the robe, as with that sort of money, you could buy a house in the demon continent. Moving past the fancy store, Rudeus and Sylphie continued on their original plan, preparing groceries for the reception. I'm sure this was obvious, but those stars in the sky as they return home, representing both of them, are a nice touch. As they soak themselves in the bath, I realized to myself just how pretty Sylphie is. Rudeus is seriously one lucky bastard.
Hey, stop!
Honestly, I couldn't blame Rudeus for folding the way he did, as any semblance of self-control left his body after this happened. On the day of their wedding reception, it was nice to see the little detail of the icicles melting as they held their reception at noon sharp. In the light novels by order, Linnea and Persena arrived first, followed by Zanoba and Julie, then Ariel's group, and finally Cliff and Elinalise and Nanahoshi, who all came together. Linnea and Persena came 2 hours early, as incidentally it was customary in their culture for those attending weddings to go hunting in the morning and offer their kill to the host. How early one went out to hunt, make a kill, and return with it were all measures of respect for the host. This kill turned out to be a giant boar. Incidentally, Ariel also had something for Rudeus as she introduced her two attendants, though in the light novels, Rudeus points out that their last names were easy to remember, a blue wolf and a legendary elf. He also pointed out that many among the Austrian nobility seem to enjoy name combinations of a color and an animal. Anyways, regarding the gift Ariel got for them, I'll cut to the chase. Ariel handed him a box that had an aphrodisiac and a long wooden rod that I'll let you imagine what it was for. According to Ariel, she was sure that Rudeus, being from the Grey Rat family, would not have any trouble satisfying a woman, but it seems like she wanted to be safe. Anyway, if you'd noticed that everyone was wearing their school uniforms, this was something Rudeus decided on, in an attempt to bridge the disparity certain people would feel if the rich ones overdid it with their clothes. Even Julie was supposed to be wearing one. Everything seems to be in place, aside from Barigadi as they begin their ceremony. Rudeus hesitates to start a speech, not because the viewers are unpleasant, but simply because he is nervous. But Barigadi's interruption was as surprising and awkward as I remembered it to be. He doesn't even seem apologetic about it, though he did say in the light novels that this particular custom was created by Kishirika herself, and even he agrees it's ridiculous. But despite Rudeus' misgivings as to whether he's being too stiff or not, Barigadi is a real G, reminding him what really matters, and the party was underway. The party proceedings was adapted well, Linnea and Persena and their antics, and the almost awkward encounter when Ariel meets them, which explains what I was talking about earlier. Nanahoshi, being the chip-eating monster, was gift material, and Barigadi, Zanoba, and Julie partaking in mild drinking. As the time proceeds, everyone gives their congratulations. Nanahoshi came to give her brief congratulations, but Sylphie's curiosity and uneasiness she feels with Nanahoshi showed here. As in the previous part, it was shown how uneasy Sylphie felt when she saw how well Rudeus and Nanahoshi got along, and even shared a common language she didn't understand. Rudeus here actually didn't mind what Nanahoshi told her, but he admitted that it might get awkward if Sylphie knew. In the end, Nanahoshi makes a decision not to tell Sylphie, showing how considerate she is of Rudeus' position. But the most eventful congratulations were from our duo, Cliff and Elinalise. How many of you guessed that Elinalise was Sylphie's grandmother? The first few hints were that they had similar pendants, but honestly, before even reading the light novels, I had no idea either. But Elinalise's reaction shows just how much emotion overcame her. It reminds you that despite her promiscuity, she still has empathetic emotions as any person would. She even worried that Rudeus might be disillusioned knowing that Sylphie came from Elinalise, which is the furthest from the truth. A flustered Cliff takes her upstairs, and a damper is put on the whole situation for now. Barigadi was the only one who didn't come to congratulate him, instead deciding to keep the party as boisterous as possible. As it was getting late, people started to leave. The reason why Nanahoshi left was because in the light novels, Luke was constantly trying to start a conversation with her, essentially trying to flirt with her. She even retreated to the bathroom to hide from this guy. Eventually, she had enough and decided to leave. Zanoba, Julie, and Barigadi were the next to leave. It was funny seeing how Zanoba was inebriated as he was. Losing to Barigadi in a drinking bout is one thing, but even Julie seems to be completely fine. The dwarf blood runs strong in her. Furthermore, Rudeus knew that Barigadi had strong affinity for alcohol, but despite preparing an appropriate amount, and 2 or 3 extra caskets, it was not enough. As things calmed down a bit, Rudeus and Sylphie check on Elinalise and Cliff, the former seeming to have calmed down a bit. Sylphie decides to talk to her, no doubt surprised that she found a family member despite thinking she didn't have any left. But as she does that, Ariel has something he wishes to ask of Rudeus, which turned out to be a duel with Luke. One of Rudeus' worries, other than the fact that he thought it was pointless, was the fact that Luke would be wielding a dual-edged sword, thus the possibility of someone getting hurt was evident. Nevertheless, it was a fact that without his magic, Rudeus was just an average swordsman. For reference, Luke was an intermediate in the sword god style and a beginner in the water god style. His sword is a magic item that could cut through steel like butter. His boots were the same as Sylphie, giving a boost to his speed. His cloak can block heat, his gloves increase his strength, and beneath his uniform, he is wearing sword-proof clothing. But despite his worries, he ended up accepting it, as they seemed strangely insistent. The fight went exactly as how the Ellen described it, and the animation went seriously hard. In the light novels, Rudeus mentioned that the sword he made was thick and strong enough to kill a person, but it is still quite sad to see how fast it ended. Even in the light novels, Rudeus said that Luke was painfully slow, not an average person slow, but about similar to Linnea, and that he was able to predict his movements. In the end, Rudeus is still confused as to what this is really about. Ariel explained that this was a matter of pride, not only for Luke, but also for Ariel and her group. It's not surprising, considering just how much they have gone through together, but I think that Ariel was presuming too much about Sylphie's feelings. After all, it made sense to want to fight for a friend. Even Rudeus would want to fight beside Rudyard's side should he need it, but the words shared here show the dedication Ariel has towards her duty to the throne. After Cliff and Rudeus head back inside the house, Sylphie and Elinalise seem to have wrapped up their conversation. When Sylphie found out what happened, she seemed rather relieved. However, in the light novels, Sylphie thanks Rudeus for going easy on Luke, because she was convinced that he would kill him otherwise. We learn about the full truth of Elinalise's sad backstory. Cliff learns a lot about Elinalise here, to the point that Rudeus starts to think he's getting disillusioned. In the light novels, Rudeus stated that he would be pissed if Cliff told him to help him break up with her. After all, Cliff misunderstood her situation and fell in love with her on his own accord. Rudeus couldn't be any more wrong, however. Instead of being disillusioned, Cliff was even more determined to stick by Elinalise and lift her curse. Seriously, Cliff was so awesome here, and when I read it for the first time, I felt a new sense of deep respect for him, just as Rudeus does now. As everyone finally leaves, we get a moment with just Rudeus and Sylphie. Sylphie declares her intention of growing her hair out, though her reason for doing so is because she believes that she needs to work hard so that Rudeus will keep loving her. Her reason for saying so might have something to do with her conversation with Elinalise, but I digress. And that was how Rudeus and Sylphie got married. We finally get to see the ED that I remember hearing from the trailers. Similar to the OP, however, it does reveal events that will take place in the future, though not as blatantly as the OP does. Honestly, this episode really impressed me. It felt like the fruit of everyone's effort was coming together. It was a perfect display of people getting together to celebrate the happiness of someone else they care about. There were also sprinkles of foreshadowing thrown in, and it was quite eventful despite only being a wedding ceremony. The animation was well done, the voice acting sold me, and I truly had a great time watching this episode. The next episode seems to be titled Afar, and without looking at the novels, I wasn't able to recall what this episode has in store for us, but that's okay. I'll enjoy it more that way. Thank you for watching. Once again, it feels great to be back watching and reviewing Mushoku Tensei. In any case, if you are like me and want a place to talk about Mushoku Tensei, or talk about anything for that fact, come join my Discord. But I'm so ready to review and watch the next episode of Mushoku Tensei. Look forward to it.